How is everybody doing today? How are you doing, Marty?
I'm good. How are you, Drew?
I'm great. It's late. I have a lot on my mind, and we at Bedside Gamma decided to make this video because
We are perplexed.
more than perplexed, just very disorientated after the latest offering from WWE for their pay-per-views. Of course, we're talking about Hell in a Cell, which happened tonight. It's the I think it's at least the 10th plus time that they've done a Hell in a Cell pay per view. And it was pretty lackluster. It was mostly mediocre. There was some good things, and there was one really good thing. And we're just going to get into all of it. So, as a precursor here, let's do some bookkeeping. How did you feel generally about Hell in a Cell?
In general, Hell in a Cell started off, with a bang. It started off great, and that's what you were expecting. You're going into Hell in a Cell. It's Hell in a Cell. Like it's intense. It's gonna be extreme. You know, it's gonna be wild. That's what you're expecting, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It was very disappointing. And I'm not gonna say the whole thing was disappointing. I'm gonna say, in my perspective, it was gradually more and more disappointing. Like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah, I would 100% agree. That's the perfect way to word it. Gradually, it just got more and more disappointing.
yeah,
Um, like I said, the show started off amazing. I mean, you had Sasha and Becky, and they were tearing the house down. There was spot after spot after spot, and some of them were incredible. The kendo stick with
yeah,
the chair, and how they used it as a weight, so Becky could run ringside and kick Sasha in the ribs, and it was great. And Sasha eventually losing the match by leading to her own doom, so to speak, throwing the chairs into the ring and getting T-bone suplexed off the off the ropes and getting a disarmor. I mean, it's great. It was picture perfect. Did I want Sasha to win? Yes, I did. But I thought it was a great ending to the match, and so I gave them their credit for that. So I was excited. You got your first match out of the way. It was a Hell in a Cell match. Man, they did so much amazing things, and then it just kind of just goes downhill from there.
yeah. See, he and I agree with that. Is that the match was incredible. Where we disagree was who we wanted to win at the end. I have always been a big Becky fan since I can remember, honestly. Um, and I was going into this hoping Becky wouldn't lose her title. Um, so seeing the back and forth, where sometimes you thought, hey, maybe she might lose the title, and that's honestly, in my opinion, what makes a good match, where you're not 100% sure, and you start doubting whoever you're rooting for, because the opponent is that good, or that much stronger, or you may be equally as strong as that person. So it was a really great match, and I think we can both say that it was probably the best match of the night.
Yeah, for me, 100% was my match of the night. 100%. There's nothing even close, remotely close to this match. It was a 5 star in my opinion. That's how good it was. I mean, Sasha was not even botching everywhere all over the place like she normally does. You can catch her on Botchamania every day. Like a free plug, but you can catch her on Botchamania every time he puts one out. Like, she's known for it, and there was very little of that. Honestly, that's the best athleticism I've seen from Sasha. And speaking of athleticism, when you get into the second match, Daniel Bryan is still so incredible. It is exhilarating watching that guy move. At his age, and I'm getting there. I'm 30 something, and the way he moves is just it's fascinating. It's crazy. He moves like he's a point guard in the NBA. Like, that's how fast he moves in the ring, and his agility and his ability to choreograph and work with any kind of opponent. I mean, we're talking Rowan and Harper, which are 6'8" athletes that don't have the best athleticism and
As
don't
Renee
have.
Young would say, they're
Yeah,
behemoths.
exactly. They're behemoths. Oh my God. And so for me, it's just fun to see him work with people like that, and it reminds me a lot of AJ as well in the way where he can work with bigger people or smaller people or whatever the case may be. It's those kind of people that sets them apart. So we get into that match. It's another kind of spotty fest match. There's a lot of craziness going on. There's a point where Daniel Bryan's just kind of out of it, and they're double teaming the crap out of Roman. And then there's a point where Roman's out of it, and then they're double teaming the crap out of Bryan. And then you get a nice little table spot where they go for like a shield kind of bomb, maybe like a shot at the shield essentially, and they pick him up and they get ready to, and then he gets dropped out, and then Roman spears him through the table, and just there was a lot of good in that match as well. I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about it, other than I'm not a Roman fan. I don't like the guy. Just not a fan at all. He's basically John Cena 2.0. I'm not a fan. So, but I can tell you, off of what I've seen from him, this was probably one of his more better matches, and it probably just has a little bit to do with Daniel Bryan, just a little bit.
Just a little. My takeaway, honestly, from the match was I found it very obvious that Rowan and Harper were not gonna win. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah, I
it was
agree.
kind of, you were kind of like, are they really though? Are they really gonna win? Are you sure about that? So it was just obvious that they were not going to win. So you just kind of go into this match seeing
How is it gonna
how are
end?
they gonna win?
Yeah.
How is Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns gonna win? How are they going to pull this off? Because they're good. We went into it knowing that they were going to win.
Yeah.
So
I agree. 100%.
it was fun to watch. I love watching tall big men, um, go at it, and look. They look like they're, you know, a Ricochet or a Mustafa Ali. My bad, Ali. Um, um, so I just love watching, just the athleticism that you wouldn't expect from these big tall men.
Yeah, I mean that is something I didn't touch on. For being the size that they are, they're still pretty athletic. I mean, they've jumped out of the ring before. They've done the whole suicide dive shebang. They're not, a Orton doing headlocks the whole match, and honestly, later on, we're going to talk about that match, and Orton didn't have a bad match either. We'll just get right into that. I give the Bryan and the Roman match. It was decent. There was a nice little hug moment at the end, which kind of begs the question: is he a face or not?
I
But
did want to kind of comment on that. What if, because there's a lot of rumors going around that he's kind of getting ready to retire, um, for good, and I think maybe he wants his last kind of encounter, or like character arc, to be a good guy, to kind of leave with that good guy standing. We remember a few months ago when he would come out in SmackDown, and they'd be like, "Oh, he has an announcement, a very important announcement," and everyone kept on cutting him off, and everyone just kind of forgot about the announcement. So I feel like now, this is kind of his leading into being a face for the last time, kind of his last little run before, um, retiring for good.
riding off into the sunset.
Yeah.
I mean, could be. I hope not. I hope not personally, because I enjoy watching him wrestle. But he's got a kid now. He's got a whole family going on, and
Yeah.
I totally get it if that's what he wants to do. And there's no better way to end a career than a face run. There really isn't. You have the whole crowd behind you. Everybody's cheering you on. You've
Yeah.
got everybody's screaming yes, 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 and who knows, maybe you win the title again, whatever the case may be for him. But yeah, so that match, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It definitely was okay. Going up against the Becky and Sasha match, though, it was like a 1 out of 10. Like, that match was that good. When I tell you guys it was that
we
good.
don't really want to give it a 1 out of 10, because the 1 out of 10, that's for later on in the video.
This is true. Okay, fair enough.
So we
fair
can
enough.
give it an even 6 out of 10. That's a pretty good, compared to the Becky and Sasha match. We can give it a 6 out of 10, but stand alone, we can give it a good 7, maybe 8.
Okay, fair enough. So we move on, and then we have a little backstage segment with Ali and Orton, and we already know. We know going into this pay per view that this pay per view is non-existent. Essentially, there's like 4 matches on the card, and WWE. I just found out about it right before the event started that they had added 3 more matches on .com, and I'm like, what? Like what?
Right.
So it was kind of just like a real left field thing. I know they've done it in the past, so it wasn't really too crazy to see that happen, but it was kind of like a, okay, so you guys really did not plan this out right at all. And maybe they did. Maybe that's what they wanted to do, But I think a lot of it has to do with the draft coming up. I really do. I think a lot of their movements right now have to do with the draft and Vince being so indecisive and not knowing who he wants to put where. And I'll get into that a little bit more later. But so we have Ali and Orton. They have an impromptu match, and they get going. And Ali had an awesome display. Orton did all of his moves, his power slam, his headlocks, everything that he's capable of doing. He did it. I mean, the guy still can go at like 40 years old. He's still going.
Yeah.
And he's still fun to watch. Like Orton was one of my favorites, and he still is. And Ali is great too. His athleticism is nice. It's a nice offset to Orton's more stoic style, and I really enjoy it. The ending was a little interesting. Maybe Marty has something to say about the ending.
I mean, recently they've been using Randy Orton as a kind of to put people over, and they've been using him a lot to do that to put over talent. So when they announced the match in the pre-show in the kickoff, you kind of got that vibe. You thought, okay, he's gonna be putting over somebody again. And I even told Drew that when they announced that. I'm like, okay, they're gonna be putting Mustafa Ali over because he kind of had a run with Cesaro. Didn't really last long. Lasted probably 2 matches. I don't even remember who won those matches, honestly. Um, and so yeah,
Or his feud with Andrade that went nowhere.
yeah. Um, so and there were moments in the match where you thought he was gonna be put over, and when Randy Orton pulled that RKO and he just kind of did like a
Almost like a handstand. It
yeah,
was
a
it was awesome.
handstand out
It was
of it.
awesome. Definitely, they have never done any kind of reverse to an RKO like that before. That's
Yeah.
the first time I've ever seen that.
So you kind of thought from there he was gonna win the match, and then out of nowhere, like the meme, out of nowhere, Randy Orton hit another RKO and completely knocked him out. And so you're just here wondering, like, when is Mustafa Ali gonna actually get his moment? Is this building up to something bigger? Is he gonna keep trying to brawl with Randy Orton? Is he gonna maybe, like you had said, turn heel at one point? He's tired of being beat up, so he's just gonna, say F it and, go rogue on everybody.
I think it might also have implications on the Saudi show that's coming,
Oh,
Crown
yeah, of
Jewel.
course.
So I think it's a possibility that, like I said, he might go heel and he might join Orton's team and be like a protege to him, or he might stay face and then join the other squad and be on their team so that he can go against Orton and have another chance to beat him. So I think it could go either way. I do think somehow Ali is involved in that Saudi match, obviously, because of his lineage and where he's from,
Of
his
course.
history, his ethnicity. So they are going to involve him in that match if they can. I know they will. So, I mean, I don't really have too much to say else about the match. It was fun. It was enjoyable. I love watching Orton. Ali's fun too. I don't think we see Ali enough, honestly.
He was a lot better before he joined the main card, honestly. When they completely rebranded him to Ali instead of Mustafa Ali, he was amazing and enjoyable to watch. Um, and then all of a
You're
sudden
talking
they
about like
kind of
his cruiserweight
yes,
run in 12,
yes.
okay.
See, I was gonna say NXT. I wasn't sure if it was NXT or
It's
205.
okay.
So he was a lot funner to watch when he was with other high flyers and whatnot. Um, I think honestly the best way to do this would be to turn him heel and put him against Ricochet. I think that would be a pretty good, you know,
It'd be interesting. You
it,
would have that. You would have that. That mutual aggression of athleticism in the ring, you know, and that's always fun. I mean, I'm not a fan of Ricochet at all,
No.
but I can watch Ricochet versus Rey Mysterio. That might be fun.
Yeah, it would be
You
interesting.
know, I can watch Rey Mysterio versus Ali. So, I wouldn't mind an athleticism kind of luchadorish kind of match. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So after that, we had Alexis and Nikki versus the Sky Pirates. Or no, I'm sorry, not the Sky Pirates, the Kabuki
Kabuki
Warriors.
Warriors.
Yes, the Kabuki Warriors. Let me clarify that. Not the Sky Pirates, the Kabuki Warriors. So this is another one where I'm just perplexed at the ending of it. So Alexis, of course, we know she can't wrestle for crap. She's horrible. She's a cheerleader. Whatever. It is what it is.
And
She's still one of the best mic people that the women's roster has by far. Like, her confidence and charisma on the mic is unparalleled. Like, the only person close to her is probably Becky and Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I think she's even better than them. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I mean, that's how I feel. I've watched probably at least 3/4 of her promos, maybe more than that, and that's how I feel, that I believe she's the best that they have to offer when it comes to promo and charisma.
Yeah. And where Alexis, what do you say? How do you say it? Where Alexis is short, Nikki, really glows. Nikki's a really great wrestler.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like watching her. I know sometimes I cringe a little bit, and she is
because she's kind of like an Ultimate Warrior type, where she revs up in Hogan style, and
yeah,
it's a little much. It's a little much in 2019. I don't need a rendition of Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. I just don't. I mean, you guys heard earlier, I'm not a fan of the Roman Reigns Superman. I'm just not a fan of it. Like,
and before we get into like actually talking about the match, I've said this before to Drew. I do not like where they have taken Nikki at all. She came out and she was like this deranged kind of crazy person, and I was like, okay, that's cool. I can kind of get behind that. And then they kind of turned her into this soft, I need a best friend type of character, and kind
Sure.
of she seems like the relationship between Alexis and Nikki does seem genuine, but it seems genuine in the way of they both Alexis needed somebody to push around, and
mm-hmm.
Nikki needed somebody to tell her what to do. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, I get that idea completely. A follower, leader type thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So, if I just wish they could have kept that kind of dynamic, but more so a dog on a leash dynamic, where Nikki's this crazy dog, and Alexis
she kind of has to
keep
her in
keep
place
on the leash, and then they could use the whole thing.
Interesting
she's
style.
She's off the leash now, and she's going crazy. And I think that it would have been a lot better if they had taken that kind of.
Yeah, it seems they've really
it.
just pushed her to adopting to Alexis's style, and her entire kayfabe gimmick. You know, which is kind of like pompous. I drink coffee. I'm a pretty girl. You know, and that's what Nikki's been doing. So essentially, that's what's been happening. Is she's just been kind of harnessing Alexis.
Yeah, instead of being like this deranged person, she ended up being this little softie.
Yeah.
So.
So the match isn't. It's not really anything to write home about. I mean, there's, like, Nikki comes in and carries Alexis like hardcore. There's like I said, there's not much. Alexis does this somersault thing that she does in matches, and it's just the most god awful somersault I've ever seen. I mean, if you want to call it a senton, go ahead. That's fine. That's what it's called in wrestling. But to me, it looks like a somersault, like you would do in gym class. That's how bad it looks. There's no pose to it. There's no form to it. It just looks very lazily done. It's bad.
And might I add, it doesn't give any chance for Asuka or Kairi Sane to really shine either. They're kind of stooping down to this almost amateurish wrestling that they're not really getting this chance to kind of show how good they are. And I used to love watching Asuka, wrestle all the time. I mean, they had even mentioned during the match they had a 900 plus day reign as undefeated, whatever. Um, but they didn't give Asuka and Kyrie at all any chance at all to shine in their match. I mean, you did get the little spit at the end where I guess it's like an homage to another.
A couple of different people, yeah. Great Muda, Kenta, and definitely Tajiri. 100%. I'm sure that's probably who they took it from because that was the WWE's version, was
Right.
Tajiri and the Green Mist. And so I might be wrong on Kenta. I'm not sure 100% on Kenta, but I know Muda did it. And I just it was an interesting ending, and I guess it was supposed to be a heel turn, but you wouldn't know it by the crowd because they don't even know how to boo Asuka. Honestly, they
Yeah.
don't. They don't. Like even when she was a heel, they didn't know how to boo her. They still don't know how to boo her, and so I don't know how this is gonna work. I mean, I get it. You got to have a face and a heel, but I just don't know how this is gonna work. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I'm happy that a more athletic and capable tag team has the belts, but they can't do promos. So, I mean, unless Paige is gonna come out and do all their promos, I don't know. I don't know. It's whatever to me,
Yeah,
honestly.
and I think it was kind of out of nowhere too, trying to get them to do the heel turn because we know Alexis as a heel. Like that's how she shines the best when it comes to her mic skills is as a heel. So seeing them as heels instead of Alexis and this deranged type of person, which is Nikki, it's just kind of it's weird. It's weird to see this cutesy little Japanese group team be heel, and then the complete opposite for Alexis and Nikki, which both have kind of heel roots.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, again, I agree, and I fully understand what they're trying to do with the situation. And I think that it's not necessarily a misstep or a misfire. I think it's very capable of being something successful. I think, like I said, it all depends on what they're going to do as far as a mouthpiece for them, and maybe they don't even go the promo route with them. Maybe they just come out and just you know kick ass and just beat everybody, and that's how they do it. And if that's the
But
case,
we
then that's the
saw we
case.
saw it didn't really work that way when it was Asuka. I mean, she was
It
carrying
usually doesn't
the
because in the
woman's
WWE that only lasts so long.
yeah, she was carrying the woman's SmackDown title for the longest
Hmm.
time, and then when it was convenient for Charlotte to get it, they gave it to her in like a 5 minute match on
Yeah,
a SmackDown.
yeah,
They didn't even give it to her in a pay per view.
because Vince understands the importance of a promo. He's in the business of entertainment. A lot of people don't understand that, and I don't want to get into that rant because it's a long rant. Eventually, we will at some point, I'm sure, but people don't understand that there's a difference between wrestling and entertainment. And if you're in the business of both, you have to cater to both. People are not just gonna watch wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
They need to have something on the inside that will captivate them and resonate with them and relate with them. So you need to have that extra push to be able to get behind a character, get behind a storyline. And that's what a promo is about. That's what charisma is about. That's what coming out and talking on the microphone is about. And, you know, Asuka can't do that. So it's just kind of rough to put her in a position to be a title belt or a title contender. And really, it's the same effect with Shinsuke or any of the foreign wrestlers who don't typically speak English well. Um, Unfortunately, that's a backdrop to not being fluent in English. It just is.
And we are seeing this from the U.S. point of view,
Sure.
something that's an area that's predominantly English. It's not our official language, but it is predominantly English. Maybe in Japanese, in Japan, my bad, they're ecstatic that finally someone who speaks their native tongue, um, it has the title, and they can actually
Yeah, absolutely.
listen to what they're saying
Sure.
without having to look at subtitles.
Yeah.
So that's just like coming from like our point perspective. So
Yeah, I mean, by any means is it any kind of shot at her or anything. It's just I understand by watching wrestling for the past 20 years what Vince is looking for, and if you can't speak on a microphone regularly and with enthusiasm, you're not gonna make it far. You're just not. I mean, look at Finn Balor. He's cheered. He has great merch sales, but he's in NXT now again. So I mean, it's a perfect example. So moving on, we have a random match that happens with the OC and the Viking Raiders and Braun Strowman. It's lull fest. Honestly, it's garbage.
Yeah.
It lasts about 10 minutes. It ends in a DQ.
Disqualification.
But more on that later, by the way. But yeah, it ends in a DQ, and AJ is drunk afterwards. I mean, he gets.
I will say that was probably the funniest part of the night is him leaving the ring after
God.
that match. It was funny. It was great.
Yeah, I mean
enjoyed
that was
it.
funny. Yeah, it was. It was. He gets hit with a punch and clearly gets a legit black eye, and he's just unconscious. He plays it off perfectly. He's one of the best sellers in the business, and yeah, he was acting like he was just straight slap shot drunk when he got up, and he just falling all over the place. And there was a scene where he was at the top of the ramp and held the belt up and fell over more, and it was great. It was great. I enjoyed
It was
it.
really good. But not really much of a takeaway from that match. We know they've been trying to put over the Viking Raiders.
That just shows you how much they're getting over right there.
And honestly, I don't feel like it's working. Along with Heavy Machinery. I mean, yeah, Heavy Machinery and them, they're great for kind of like the aesthetics.
Yeah, Heavy Machinery is getting pops at least. Like the I forget his name, Otis. Otis, when he does the little caterpillar thing,
I love that.
it gets a nice
I
pop
love it.
from people, and so he definitely has some sort of way to resonate with the crowd. As far as working the crowd, they're not really there yet, and they don't really know how to keep the crowd's attention throughout the match. But I will say that, they have their little shtick where they can engage with the crowd and get a reaction from them, which will help them down the line, especially if they do end up becoming contenders or something, more expansive in the tag team realm. So after that, we had Corbin versus Gable for a third time. I'm not sure why this is happening again, but Gable wrestling is always fun. Not so much on the mic. I don't really think he has the charisma for a promo, so I don't understand why they keep shoving a mic in his face. But I mean, I get it. You got to, in order to get better, you got to practice. But I think that ultimately, I think that Gable is a fine athlete, and he reminds me a lot of Kurt Angle, and maybe that's what they're trying to do with him is create a new age Kurt Angle with him. And if that's the case, then I understand it fully, and I get it. Corbin is, in my opinion, the best heel that WWE has right now. He has a tremendous amount of heat. We're talking Jericho levels of heat. Like, people hate him. They detest him. And that's what you want out of a heel. So he's doing his job. And I don't really get all the criticism of his wrestling ability because there's far worse athletes on the roster than him.
Definitely.
Show me a time where he botches like 3 or 4 times in a match. He doesn't. He never botches. Like, it's very rare. He doesn't. Like, he did sandbag Gable on a German suplex, but I don't think that Corbin was ready for it. So I don't think it was something they talked about. I don't think it's something they choreographed or anything like that. So I totally get why he might have sandbagged there. The match was somewhat lengthy. They had to pad the clock because there's not many matches on this card. So I mean, it was pretty good. It was a little back and forth. I mean, Gable hits his patented German suplexes, release Germans, and goes a little mini Brock Lesnar and does some fancy roll-ups and stuff. And you think, there's a couple times where Corbin's going to win. He does end of days and deep six and all his good stuff.
DQ.
They tease the DQ with the cane, which that's his thing now with the scepter where he beats you and that's how he gets DQ'd. And, well, that didn't work. Gable was able to secure the win. And later on, well, he secures a loss, but we'll get to that.
Um, it definitely felt like a Raw match. It didn't feel like it was pay per view worthy.
No, not at
Honestly,
all.
it
Not
was
at all.
just. I felt like it was just thrown in there, like he said, for time. Um, but it definitely felt like. Honestly, I felt like today was Monday while I was watching today, the pay per view today.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Gable's a fine talent. I think he's kind of in the same realm as like Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas, where he's a great athlete, but unless he can prove to Vince that he can talk on a microphone, I don't see him getting far. So, and I think that's what Vince is doing. He's gauging it. He's like, okay, we're going to give you the mic. We're going to give you the mic. We're going to give you the mic. Are you going to do anything with it? Are you going to do anything with it? He's putting him up against the nastiest heel on the roster right now, trying to get him cheered, trying to get him that underdog clarity so that people will root for him. So I get it. He's trying to make a star out of Chad Gable. He is. And if people can't see that, I don't know what to tell you, but that is definitely what he's doing. He is
Yeah.
trying to make a star out of Chad Gable. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't have any kind of predictions for this because
I honestly do hope it kind of takes that same route that Kurt Angle went, where everyone was telling him, "You suck, you suck, you suck," and it kind of turned into a staple thing. You know, it took him years, but I feel like that would be kind of like a Kurt Angle 2.0. I think it would be great for him. He has the same kind of build. He basically looks like him. They were both Olympic athletes. So like, it wouldn't surprise me if they did, and I'm kind of expecting them to do it, but I'm not getting my hopes up for it. With his honestly, with what I've seen, his skills on the mic, I don't see it really going anywhere.
yeah, that's the same. That's how I feel, and we'll see if that changes. I mean, it's possible. I have seen people that were terrible on the mic become good. So I mean, Shelton Benjamin's a perfect example. He was horrible, and he's definitely gotten better. Bobby Lashley, same thing. He's gotten better on the mic. Obviously, they don't think he has because they had little Lashley, Leo Rush, be his mouthpiece. So they clearly did not think he was capable of talking for himself. Um, you know, but moving on, we got Bailey and Charlotte, and this is another one where it's kind of like, and following the Becky and Sasha match, which again was just tremendous. It was just typical Bailey and Charlotte, honestly. Like
Very predictable.
yeah, I mean, you got Bailey's move set, you got Charlotte's move set. There was a couple botches in there. It was not messy, but it wasn't great. But you know, I mean, they're two good athletes. I'm just not a fan of Bailey. I love Charlotte. I think Charlotte is awesome. I don't typically root for her or, like, oh my God, I love Charlotte, but I understand her ability and I respect it. So she does win. She wins the title with a tap out, with a figure eight. And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, there was really not too much after that. Bailey throws a tantrum, which is probably a call out to the Sasha thing with the whole everybody made a big deal about her crying after the event when they lost the tag titles and stuff. So I'm sure they're going to play off of that and do something with that. I don't know what it's going to be, but that was clearly not a shoot or a work, and I don't want to hear anybody say it was, because it wasn't, because they wouldn't have had it on film and just all in her face while she was crying. So definitely crocodile tears.
Definitely. But I feel like it was predictable, mainly because we saw Charlotte go against Bailey a few weeks in a row now. And each time she would put her in the figure four?
Figure eight.
Figure eight. And she'd tap out almost immediately. So I knew she was going. If she didn't tap out, then I didn't know what would happen, because
Yeah,
I knew it would happen.
Like I said at the beginning of the event, one of them was going to lose. Either Sasha or Bailey, but not both of them. So I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. They both lost. And yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that at all. I thought one of them would win for sure. And I don't know where they're going with that either. I have no idea. Are they going to have them go for the tag titles against the Kabuki Warriors? Who knows? I mean, I have no idea where they're going with them now. Is Sasha just going to continue feuding with Becky? I don't know. These are kind of like the I don't know sequence of storylines when it comes to WWE. They just do something and you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's what keeps you engaged because you want to watch the next episode to find out what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I'm happy about it because I always loved before Charlotte and Becky broke up, their whole friendship. I loved like their kind of dynamic. So I'm excited to see if they're gonna work with that, if they're gonna try to have like some sort of reunion, or is there still gonna be animosity between them? Because we saw them work pretty well together when they were tag partners last week. Friday was it when they had the match together?
Yep.
Um, on SmackDown. So they worked really well, and they seem to, kind of get along for that. So I'm hoping they just embrace being champions together, and they don't try saying I want to be Becky two belts again, or I want to be Charlotte two belts, whatever. Um, I just hope that they finally reunite. Will it happen? I doubt it because the brands are splitting again. So I think they're just gonna stay in their own corners, do what they do, and that's that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have another draft. It's already been announced. It's starting Friday. Of course, they're going to start it on Friday because they want all the ratings they can get for Fox to make them happy. And then it's going to continue again on Monday so that they can continue to keep those ratings for Monday as well. And now we're at the finale of Hell in a Cell, which is
Heavy sigh.
it's not good. It's not good. It's not fun. It wasn't okay. So the first like 5 minutes.
Hold on. Before we talk about what happened in the match, let's talk about what we were expecting. I personally wasn't expecting Bray Wyatt to win it all. I didn't see
Same. I didn't see him winning the title. No.
Yeah, I didn't see him title in hand, but I didn't see it happening the way it did.
No, I expected a mauling. I expected Bray to just go crazy, super insane, especially with the Joker release that just came out, and then to really push that crazy, insane, angle and just do something insane, like throw him off a cage or something, or, something crazy.
And then for him at the end, for Seth Rollins at the end to kind of, hulk up and find the strength in him to, like, after 30 minutes, after 45 minutes, who knows, to finally find the strength, or maybe the time ran out. I don't know 100% the rules of Hell in a Cell, but
there is no time limit. No.
I was just expecting a classic face victory over him. I love Bray Wyatt, but I didn't see him coming out with the title, so I wasn't going in expecting him to win the title.
Sure. Yeah, I mean the same thing for me. I did not expect him to win the title. I knew that the only way to have Seth win and still keep Bray as powerful as he is right now, the only way to do that is either by some sort of random end the match crap, or he mauls the crap out of Seth and they just end the match like that. So what preceded is one of the most idiotic, triumphant displays of Vince's loss of integrity to the wrestling business that I have seen in a long time. So we get his awesome entrance. He comes out, great, let me in, yeah, hurt heel. It's great. I love it. It's great. He's got the lantern of his head. It's great. Obviously, we can't put that on regular TV. We have not seen it on regular TV. We probably won't. From there, it's some back and forth action. You get a couple spots, I get a couple spots. You get a couple spots, I get a couple spots. And there was all sorts of good stuff. I mean, there was chairs set up. There was Bray pulled out his hammer. There was what was the spot where Bray did the Sister Abigail into the cage.
Yeah.
That was great. There was really good moments in this match. So I don't want to drown that out, but I have to say, man, this ending and really the middle, the body of the match was just atrocious. So after we get this nice back and forth, and oh man, Bray might win. Holy crap, he might actually win. So
All of a
Seth
sudden,
kicks out of a Sister Abigail, which has only been done one time since NXT, one time. So now it's two because he's Seth Rollins and he's Superman, and that's the way it is. So he kicks out of Sister Abigail, and then because that's where I thought he was gonna win. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna give Bray the title, and no, nothing. Literally right after this, Seth goes on a tirade and starts hitting him with all sorts of things, grabbing from the ring.
stomp after stomp.
He just
after
grabs
stomp.
weapon after weapon after weapon and then just starts stomping the living crap out of him. He stomps him like 10 times.
It was
like,
definitely more than 10 times.
It was just
about 20, maybe.
Meanwhile,
even 30.
by the time like the fourth stomp was going on, the entire crowd was booing. And you guys probably aren't going to see it because you're going to see the replay or you're going to watch it a day after and they're going to edit it.
Live event.
They're going to edit it. They will absolutely edit it. I guarantee it. But those boos were what's the word? Astronomical. Those boos were astronomical. They were crazy. Like, you literally felt like, damn, WWE effed up. That's how you felt.
You felt like the audience was about to come out of their seats down to the ring and start a riot.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. So like I say, you just keep stomping. You get little cinematic shots of his face after he stomps him. Oh, he's scared because Bray keeps getting back up.
And by the way, sometimes Bray would hold on to the chair to keep it in place. He kind of felt like he was going to all of a sudden take the chair and whack it over Seth Rollins, but that didn't happen, and it was very disappointing.
Yeah, he was just holding it so it'll be in the right position for Seth when he would do the move. And then he does a pedigree. Okay, Triple H. Okay, Triple H Triple H Jr., whatever you want to be called. And then, he just grabs weapon after weapon under the ring. Just chairs, okay. Ladders, kicks out. The ladder in a chair, which I'm not really sure how that works, but he put the chair in between the ladder and just then hit him with the chair. It was weird.
Nothing. It was just for
I don't
the
get
cinematics.
it. I don't get it. And then he pulled out the sledgehammer. No, first he pulled out the toolbox. So he had a freaking toolbox. Seth freaking Rollins pulled out a toolbox from underneath the ring and proceeded to smash it into the ladder, which probably has zero impact to Bray whatsoever, and proceeded to smash it into Bray like 3 or 4 times. Meanwhile, the tools that are inside are flailing all over the ring. The ref is scurrying to get them out of the ring. And that's not enough. He still kicks out. So now he grabs, of course, the sledgehammer. Triple H Jr. has to get the sledgehammer. And so he runs in the ring, he hits him with the sledgehammer, and the ref says it's done. He calls the match.
A DQ.
What?
Disqualification.
What?
But from using a sledgehammer in Hell in a Cell. Now, people were saying, oh, well, it happened last year. There was a disqualification last year. The disqualification that happened last year was because Brock Lesnar broke into the cell to beat up who I don't even know who he wanted to beat up.
Roman and Braun.
That's why the disqualification happened. Disqualification did not happen because a tool was brought out. They were all over the cell.
Yeah, they basically just called it a TKO and just said, oh, he's unable to continue, and it was ridiculous. And the crowd ate it. They were pissed. They were mad. There was AEW chants. There was restart the match chants. There was
after the stream ended. There was refund chants.
Yeah, I mean, and then it doesn't end there. So you're like, oh my god, did they just kill Bray Wyatt? Like, what are they doing? Like, he has to get up, right? So he gets up, of course. He Undertakers it, and he mauls Seth Rollins with a mandible claw. And then I forget how, but Seth ends up outside the ring and gets a Sister Abigail, and then gets another Sister Abigail on the concrete.
And then another mandible claw.
Another mandible claw with some fake blood, which, okay. And then, of course, his signature laugh, and and then that's it. That's it, literally. That's the end of Hell in a Cell. Yeah. Mind-blowingly bad. The worst ending to a pay-per-view I have seen in probably years.
Yeah.
I have nothing good to say about the ending or the body of that match. Like I said, the beginning was good. It was well done. There was back and forth action. There was spots like you're supposed to have in a Hell in a Cell. Bray was his ring psychology was awesome. He made you scared, like you didn't know what he was gonna do next. Like it was great. And Seth played the role of a fearful little teenager really well. Like, he's Jason, and Seth is one of the 16-year-olds getting ready to get their throat slashed. Like that's what it felt like. And
he's the one that survives at the end, and then
yeah,
they make a sequel about.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like, and it just ended on debauchery. Just I don't even I have no words. Honestly, it was horrible. It was horrible, and it kind of makes you wonder where are they going from here? Because what have you done by doing this? Well, let's see. You've weakened Seth because the crowd hated the match, and they're supposed to be cheering the face, and they hated it. They hated the match. So they didn't like it, so now you don't have them on your side. Bray's damaged because Bray
looks like a weakling.
Bray looks like a weakling, even though he woke up and he was able to knock down Seth and do all that. He still looks like a weakling because they called the match. If they didn't call the match and then Bray gets up and somehow gets himself disqualified, I mean, I don't know. I don't like the idea of a disqualification in a Hell in a Cell match. I just
especially considering all the other outlandish matches that we've had in the past. I mean Mick Foley had been
thrown off the cage.
How many times
thrown off the cage. Come on.
How many times has Triple H used a sledgehammer?
Triple H's pedigree on top of the cell, or Chris Jericho doing the walls of Jericho on the cell. Like, there was never any kind of, oh, well, this is too far. Or Shane McMahon jumping off the damn cell and elbow dropping Undertaker. They didn't call the match then either. So I don't want to hear this crap about people saying, well, it was crazy and he had him unconscious and so the ref
they could have used that in the match. He could have gone to go to pin
yeah,
him.
I think this was just lazy storyline. I think they were really lazy when they wrote this script. That, or they had a whole script written and Vince threw it out last minute because of some last minute change to the draft, which is what I firmly believe happened. I believe Rollins was supposed to go to SmackDown and they had it all planned out and everything was planned out. Bray was going to win. He was going to be the champion. And then Vince said, no, we need Rollins on Raw. And, well, look what we got. So, ultimately, Hell in a Cell was a fat disappointment.
Yes.
Disappointment. It wasn't at all what I wanted it to be. Becky and Sasha tore the house down. That was incredible. Some of the matches were okay, but those are the kind of pay-per-views that are going to make subscribers quit. Like, yeah.
I saw even people tweeting out on Twitter that they wanted refunds on their account. And I think it's a little, too much. But still, at the same time, you're paying monthly, $10 monthly, to be able to watch these pay-per-views. And then they come out with stuff like this, And I understand it's the same as when you go to an arena to watch it. You're going to watch the spectacular thing. And the pay-per-view really, what do you call it when something's dying? Like it started decaying right in front of our eyes, where it was something amazing, and then slowly it started losing
its luster, its shine.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean they got to come back hard. I know they got the Saudi show, and they better hope that thing blows, because right now, man, AEW is on their ass. Period. Like, and they're just gonna keep shelling out better content, because if you think their debut show was all they had to offer, you know, who knows what they have to offer? That's what I mean. Like they got Jack Swagger like nothing. They got John Moxley like nothing. Who else do they have is the question.
Yeah. Who else have we not seen? That's the real question. I mean, nobody saw Jake Hager coming at all.
Nope.
That happened out
Total
of nowhere.
Total shock.
I mean, I was shocked. I was dying. I love Jack Hager.
I mean, he was still doing martial arts or whatever. So yeah, like boxing. So I had no idea. I was like, what? He came out and they're starting their whole little NWO thing, but that's a topic for another day. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. This is the first one that we're gonna do. We're gonna try to do this every pay-per-view. It's just to be something, a little side thing from our video games, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, leave them down below. Whatever you guys want to chat about, we will definitely reply to.
Respectfully.
Respectfully. If you enjoy the content, subscribe to us. We'll definitely be making more of these. So thank you so much, and we appreciate your time. And remember, watch wrestling because you like wrestling. Don't watch wrestling to crap on it. Don't watch wrestling to make fun of it because it's fake. It's not fake. Look at Ali's ribs. Have a good one.